Hi guys! Welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be doing the January and February wrap-ups. So we're just going to put it in one video. We'll go one by one. So the first book that I read in January was Archer's Voice. It is a romance of a guy who can't speak and then a girl who comes into this, I forgot where it was. But she comes into this small town and to escape something that happened to her in a different state. Do you recommend it? I do recommend the book. Like, this book definitely made me teary-eyed. It didn't make me cry, but it made me teary-eyed, especially in the ending and all the plots that you find out. Right? Plots? Oh, like the twists and stuff. Yeah, all the plot twists and stuff that you find out. And I think it's worth the read. And I gave this a 5-star. My first read of the year was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. So I give this one 3 stars. I think I just wasn't in the mood for like a romance when I started reading this, and that's probably one of the reasons that it like kind of brought my score down. It's purely a romance, so if you love purely romance, like just like the story of like the couple, then this would be a great book for you to read. I gave it 3.5. Yeah, I gave it 3.5. Basically, she needs a date for her sister's wedding because her ex is going and he's going with his fiance, and it's been 5 years since they broke up, and she doesn't want everybody to feel bad for her, so she just wants to go with a date. And her office enemy, Aaron Blackford, steps in. So that's the book. Okay, so the next book that I read was Beach Read. I wanted to read this for a long time. Oh, it's by Emily Henry. So what Beach Read is about is basically 2 authors go into a neighboring beach house, and they both their beach houses are right next to each other, and they both go there because they have writer's block, and they go there to cure that writer's block, and then they ended up, you know, talking and everything, and they make a deal that they would write the other person's genre, like a book based on the other person's genre. So the girl's January, her name is January, her writing stuff is romance, and the guy's is some revolutionary, I don't really know what it is, I don't know, but it's like historical, whatever, like it's nonfiction basically, or fiction. Historical fiction. Like historical fiction type. So yeah, that's what this book is about. And oh, it's a romance if you didn't know. But I gave this a 4.5. It wasn't the best. Like, I thought it was gonna be more, you know, but it just gave me like what every other romance book gives me. It didn't change my life except for one. Yeah, so I gave it a 4.5, and that was the second book. So the second book I read was Tequila Kingdom by Alexandra Cristo, and so I think I gave this a 3 or 3.5 stars. Basically what this book is about is 2 POVs. So it's the siren, her name is Lyra, I don't know, and then the second one is this prince, his name is Prince Elian. Basically the siren hates the king, the prince, because he's like known to be like a siren killer. Like, he goes out and kills sirens, and her mom was mad at her, and for her mom to be happy, her mom told her to go out without her mermaid strength and stuff and kill the guy. And yeah, anyways, they go on this whole thing to find him, and yeah, I liked it, but it was super predictable in many parts, and that's why I didn't give it a higher rating. What did I give it? 3.5. Oh, 3.5. Whoa, this one was lower. Okay, so the next book that I read was Book Lovers. Another one. I was in my romance era at the moment, in the beginning of January. So this book is about someone who like reviews, does the editing part for, like, is the editor of an author. I don't know. He's an editor. Is an editor, and so they both go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina. The guy, because he has family there, and there's like a business he needs to help run because his parents are getting old. And then the girl goes because her sister told her that she needs a break, like, let's both get away. Her sister everyone says that they love her sister, and I'm just like, I don't feel that way. I think she was very, I don't know. But like in the end, like I love her, but like throughout the book, I'm just like, you whine too much. But anyways, so yeah, so they both go there and then they meet, they help each other, whatever. And it's their little love story. I gave this book a 3.5. Hold on. Because the amount of people that read this book is like, oh my gosh, I love it so much.
So it was overhyped.
Yeah, it was so overhyped for me. It was very kind of typical, I'm not gonna lie. But it's because I didn't feel, right. So I gave it a 3.5 because I didn't feel the chemistry between these two people. Like at some point they were like just working together, they're friends, and then boom, I love you so much. And I'm like,
where did that happen?
Whoa, exactly.
Did I miss a couple pages?
And it did also have a big chunk of the book be about her relationship with her sister. That's it. 3.5.
The third book I read was When Women Were Dragons, right?
Yeah.
When Women Were Dragons. Okay, I didn't read with words and my eyes. I read with my ears.
Audiobook.
Yeah, it was an audiobook. This is my first audiobook that I've actually read. And I feel weird saying that, but like I did read it because I paid attention and everything. I gave it a 3 stars. It's a historical fiction fantasy. That's kind of like the best way to describe it. The way that the book is written is like a memoir during that time. So we only watch it through the point of view of this one girl who sees a woman turn into a dragon, and then like her family, her mom specifically, doesn't want to believe that women are turning into dragons, and it's like a taboo subject. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like so feminine for women to turn into dragons, like don't talk about it. Ew. It's like talking about periods back in the 50s, like don't talk about that, men shouldn't hear about that. It was like a very taboo subject, so they just kind of like completely ignored the fact that women were turning into dragons.
Isn't this like women empowerment?
Yeah, it was like a feminism, it was like a metaphor for feminism like coming out during that time, because it was also during the time after like the men, it was like a little bit before the men came back, or from like the war when all the women had to take over like the jobs because all the men were at war, things like that. So it was during that time period and things like that. So yeah, it was really interesting. I liked it, but like it was just kind of boring in some parts because it was like memoir based. It wasn't like something was happening to her. And then I mean, I liked it more like when she was like older and you can see a little bit more depth. When she was younger, it's like, I have a sister. I don't have a sister. My sister's Beatrice. And whatever. But you should read it if you're into that. But I gave it a 3 stars.
Next book that I read was Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I don't have the book with me because it was a book that I read in my English class. But I'm still going to include it because I did read it, like unlike many people who don't read their English assigned books. But I read it. I loved it. It is an actual memoir of him his coming of age, everything that happened with his mom. I love his mom. His mom as a whole is like my role model. Like we love her. Anything that had to do with her, I felt, and I love his mom. Anyways, I didn't rate it because it is a memoir of real people. So yeah. But I loved it, so you should read it.
My 4th read was Fourth Wing. Yes, Nelly read Fourth Wing. These tabs right here, all of that is from her. I highlighted a couple stuff in the book, but it wasn't as crazy as hers. Mm-hmm. I loved this book. I think I gave it a 4 star. I don't know how to describe the book.
Can I help you?
Yeah, you can
okay.
help me. It's like 400 pages.
So basically, I'm going to try to narrow it down. The book is about this girl, Violet Sorengale, and she wants to become a scribe, but her mom is like, no, you're going to be a writer just like me and your sister and your brother.
Dragon rider,
right. So she's going to be one of the people that go out in the war. She's a soldier, right. Basically, there's already a big war going on outside of their little school, basically. So she has to go into this quadrant. She has to go to school for it before she can become an actual writer. Yeah. And then when you pass a certain test, that is when you can move on, and hopefully a dragon chooses you. If not, you will just either walk free or you die in the process because the dragon was like, yeah. So you either die or you just walk away in shame. I feel I would rather die instead of shame because that's
yeah, but if you do live, you have to take the class all over again and see if another dragon wants to take you a year later. So
you know, maybe the next year you die. But yeah, so after that, you still have a chance of dying after the dragon chooses you, because you know, you go into the wars and all that stuff. But before that, you also gain a power. I forgot what it was.
Oh yeah, it was sigil. I think it was a sigil.
Sigil. It's like an element that you possess. Okay, you can.
The typical ones is like you can control fire, control water, control those
you
things.
You can see far away.
Yeah, those are like the typical ones, and then there's like the cooler ones that are like super rare, which.
And oh my gosh, the dragons are so funny. They have so much personality. We love them. I love them all. And the last thing is there is a huge subplot of romance. So it's fantasy with romance. If you want that, do with that what you will.
Yeah, I loved it. Nelly gave it a 5-star. So she's like more obsessed with it than I am. But yeah, we're gonna do a dual reading for Iron Flame. We have one of the books, but we want to get the second one so we can do that.
Yeah, because again, we don't live together, so
yeah.
Okay, so my next book is basically 3-in-1. It is The 9 Lives of Chloe King by Liz Braswell. So it's 3 books in one. Chloe King, right? She's a normal girl.
Just a normal girl with a normal life.
And then on her 16th birthday, but we don't exactly know when her birthday is because she was adopted and they never found her papers or her documents, birth certificate, nothing of that. Like she was a mystery. So after her 16th birthday, something happens and she realizes that she's probably not normal. And so she gains really intense vision, right, night vision, that's what it's called, and super strength, super speed, and she gets claws. It's so cute. And then so she goes through a whole bunch of stuff. She finds a whole little group of people who are basically a cult, and then another cult, and those 2 cults don't like each other. They want to eliminate the other, and so she just has to get by. She has 9 lives.
Does she know she has 9 lives?
Yeah, because on her 16th birthday, she falls off a tower and she's supposed to be dead, and she lives.
But how does she know she has 9?
Because then she meets the people.
Oh.
She meets the people of her own cult, basically. And
is it a cult or is it like
it's basically
a
cult.
Gang?
It's a cult.
Oh, okay.
That is a cult because they worship these like these 2 Egyptian. So, there's like history in it. You can read it, but I really liked the book. I enjoyed it.
How many pages is that?
Oh, this is about more than 760 pages. Yeah. So I rated this a 4.5. If you watched the show, you know, like, come on, I mean, I had to read it. So the show just like broke my heart. Luckily, this ending made me feel a little bit better than the one in the show because something happens in the end and I sobbed like no other. Like as if my own
like as if she was being murdered. Okay.
As if I was the one being murdered or watching someone being murdered in front of me. But yeah, so 4.5. Totally read it. I guess there's just some romance, but it's okay. This girl is 16. There's so many immature things going on in here. Like her thinking is so like, hey girl, get a grip, please. You're embarrassing yourself and you're embarrassing me. But she's 16. Keep that in mind. And I mean, other than that, it's not that bad. It's really fast paced, to be honest, because I don't know. It's just sometimes it's like there's this thing where it's like, oh, we kissed, so we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. That is what like got me. I was like, let's backtrack, okay? But yeah, I really like the book. So
is it like a trilogy that they combined into one in that?
Basically.
Second Husband. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's my 5th book. So The Second Husband by Kate White.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy I remembered that. I gave it 5 stars at the beginning because I was like so heightened, but then there was something I just didn't really like about the ending. I wish the ending was slightly different.
You gave it 5 stars.
So I gave it a 4.75. So I loved this book. It was a psychological thriller. Basically, the main stuff that you know about, the main thing that you need to know is that her husband was murdered, and then it goes back and forth during that timeline and to the present timeline where she's married to her second husband. And she got married with him like a year and a couple months after her first husband died. And during the present timeline, I think they've been married for like maybe 7 months or something like that. And then the case of her first husband's murder reopens because it was deemed a cold case, so it reopens a year and a half later.
Are you in February already? You read it in February?
No, I read it in January. Never mind. I finished this book in February, and then I started The Second Husband.
I'm still in January.
Oh yeah, no, you read way more books than me in January. So basically, you're in her head trying to figure out. I recommend it, fully recommend it, loved it. It wasn't my first psychological thriller that I read. The first one I read was How to Kill Your Best Friend. I read that like 2 years ago, and I think that was the first like thriller psychological thing that I read. But this was the first one I read this year, and I loved it because I was surprised by it because I wasn't expecting it to be that. So I don't know, I really loved it and fully recommend it.
My next read,
Still in January,
is Check and Mates. It is Ali Hazelwood's first attempt at a YA book, a romance book. So I'm saying attempt because she does talk a lot about stuff that isn't meant for a younger audience. I feel like in the first chapter, it's already speaking about it, and I don't recommend this to anybody younger than like 17. Yeah. So basically, it's about this girl who gave up her life, her chess life, because something happened with her dad and her mom and whatever. And there's this guy who is basically the champion of chess, and she doesn't really like him. She's like, you need to. Well, calm down. But he's very like reserved, and then they meet because she gets a job offer to work in this chess company, and she goes to tournaments. Yeah, like there's businesses that help chess champions, and they get them to the tournaments, they get them to all of these places. So she participates, and in the first tournament that she did, she beat the best chess player, and he's like, and she's like, and she runs away. So, and then it just goes from there, and I love it. I love him. I forgot his name. Nolan. We love him. We love him so much. Anyway, so yeah, it's a cutesy little book, but I just don't think it's for YA. I mean,
maybe
it's not really young adult,
like new adult, maybe.
But I think she had a different vision on what the younger audience is. So I don't know, but I gave the book. I give it a 4.25. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not that good, but it's not bad either. So if you want, it's not that long either. So I kept saying either. But yeah, it was a cutesy little book. 4.25.
The second audiobook that I finished was Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar. I will put a clip right here of me ugly crying to a couple scenes of this book because I loved it so much. And she didn't go into such detail about like certain like stuff that happened to her in her life, but it's a nonfiction, so it's her memoir up until like, the present time.
This is from 18 Kids and Counting?
19 Kids and Counting. Get it right. But I think it started off as 15 or 16 kids. I think it was 16 Kids and Counting. And then like now they have like 20 kids. But anyway, so it's her. She's the first or second oldest daughter. And so it's her life from like when she was really small up until like, even past the fact that she was married and having to like abide and obey like her parents, even though she was like 23, 24 and already married, separate life. She literally had her own house, had her own separate life, and she still was like, felt like she had to, you know, go and do the show and do this and do that. It was just like, it was amazing. I loved it so much. I cried a lot. I loved it. Recommend it. Oh, it's really sad, but I loved it.
Yeah, I read one of the quotes that she wrote down. I was like, so I think it's a good book.
And I just loved it because it was like,
Wasn't she the one narrating it?
yes, she was the one narrating it, and that's what made me love it so much more. I could hear her voice, and like when she would like say certain words, sometimes like what she was feeling in that moment kind of came out a little bit. But I love that, the fact that it was just her reading her memoir. I was just like, this is why everybody needs to read their memoir. I know it takes a long time to record and stuff, but like, I loved it so much.
Okay, so the next book that I read, this is the last book I read in January. So the last book I read was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Oh my gosh, that's the first book I read by them. Hey! So basically, The Unhoneymooners,
I haven't read this book.
Oh, okay, then let me like, it's a sister's fiance's brother trope. Okay, so it's like a best friend's brother type thing.
Sister's
Fiance's brother. So it's an enemies to lover. They are at her sister's wedding. So I guess husband, because they got married. So they're at their wedding, and everyone comes down with a food poisoning situation going on, because her sister's a cheapo and she gets any discount that she can get. No, this is fine. This is fine. No, it tells that in the back. Promise. Mostly. No, just kidding. So I'm not gonna talk more about it, but they, the husband and the sister convince the two main love interests to go on their honeymoon, because the honeymoon thing is non-refundable. The flight, the place, everything was non-refundable. Just go. And so it takes them like 2 minutes to say yes. And so they go, and then they have to pretend to actually be a couple over there, and they go through these things, have adventures, stuff like that. They come back, this and that, and then there's just a plot between no, that's it.
That's so much. That's like half the book.
That's the basis of the book. Girl, what do you mean? That's the basis of the... Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna stop talking. So they go through their adventures, and yeah, so I gave that a 5 out of 5. It was so good. I loved it. It made me giggle. So I think you should read it, Kaylee. You should totally read it. And yeah, Christina Lauren did that. They ate. They delivered. They devoured everything.
And I started reading 3 other books, but I'm still reading them right now.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to be talking now, and you're going to be listening gracefully. The first book that I read in February is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher.
Did you lose
Found
that?
it. Yeah, so the first book in January that I actually finished was Love Redesigned, right? So it's about these two people, a girl and a boy, Dalia Munoz and Julian Lopez. So Julian Lopez takes over his dad's company after something happens, and he basically takes it over and customizes it. I mean, changes the name to Lopez Luxury, and you know, he just is rebuilding houses.
Lol.
Yes. He's just rebuilding houses and whatever, and he's basically a billionaire. And then Dalia basically lives in San Francisco, and
They're both Hispanic?
yes. And the thing I like about this is that they have like the little you know, translations of what they say in Spanish at the bottom.
Oh yeah, I remember I saw that when you got it.
Yeah, so they have that. So Dalia, She she lives in San Francisco, and she is a interior designer. And she had this show with her fiance. Then something happens. They're not together anymore. She comes back to she goes back to Lake Wisteria, and that is where that's a small town trope. It's childhood friends to lovers, but they haven't talked in like a long time, like a good 9 years, I think, because of something that happens in college, whatever. And then they have to work together to build this house, and that's basically all I'm gonna say about it. It's really cute. I love Julian. Dahlia too. I love her too. Like, their relationship, I could feel it. I loved it, and that is why I gave it a 5 stars. 5 stars for me, and I loved it, and I think you would like it.
Yeah, I think I would like it. It's extending my March TBR.
Okay, the next book that I read was Where the Crawdads Sing. That one was the blind date with a book.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go into detail about it. If you want to go watch that video, because
It's gonna be right there.
It's gonna be somewhere.
Go to it. It's our first video.
Please like it. No, but I don't want to go into detail. It's about this. It's in this girl's point of view. It is a mystery murder type of book, and it's also like a past and present point of views. Like, they shift. The timelines shift from the past and the present, and it just like keeps going until the very end of the book is just the plain present. It's sad, it's emotional. I didn't get emotional, but I did. I mean, I didn't like cry. I did tear up, but yeah, man, my girl went through it.
She did get emotional.
You saw my reactions. They're there. Anyways, and I gave the book it says here I gave it a 4, but I gave it a 4.25. Okay, I liked it. I was kind of bored at the beginning, but it's because it was it's like a historical fiction. It's a historical fiction. I don't really like historical books. I love history, but I don't like historical books. I don't like the way that they talk.
Or movies.
Too confusing.
Or shows.
Yeah. But again, as I go through it and I watch it and I read it and I start liking it. So that's what happened with Anne with an E. I was like, I don't want to watch that.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, and then the next book, which was also the book that I read in the blind date book. This is one of them, but whatever. I loved this book so much, but I didn't have many clips for it, so just, you know. So this one was The Shadow of Perseus by Claire Haywood. Guys, please let me tell you, Medusa is my girl. I love her so much. Every time I watch this video or every time I think about Medusa, I'm just like, she needs to be avenged. She needs to have revenge. But anyways, this book is basically about women using their voices to gain respect, basically. So this is a 3-person's point of view. It's about Andromeda, Danae, I don't know how to say their names, I'm sorry, Danae or Denia, whatever, and then Medusa. So it goes like that. And they all have interactions with Perseus, and so Perseus just is, oh my gosh, he needs to like sit down, take a seat, and get a beating or something. But yeah, I loved it. It actually made me pretty emotional, and every time I was like, don't read what's under, because I would let my eyes deceive me, and I would see what the process was, you know what I mean? So yeah, I really like this book. It was it's a short book, but it took me a while to read it. I gave this one a 4.75. So I think you should read it, but it's a 3.65, 6.7 in Goodreads, but it also doesn't have that many reviews.
So get on with it.
Yeah, like, get there. What are you doing? Throughout the whole month of February, I read Purple Hibiscus. That was also the other book that I had to read for my English class. I really enjoyed that book. At first, I thought it was a memoir of like an actual person of I don't know how to say her name, but the Adichie is her last name. So Chimamanda Adichie. I'm sorry. It's basically this girl's life based in Nigeria, and she has this very religious, strict dad, and her life there, and then her her sub life or whatever in her aunt's house, and they're all whatever. And it's just so sad. Like her dad.
Sorry, yeah, I'm looking for Jack.
No, you're good. I was just enunciating the silence for her dad. Her dad needs to go to jail, but you know what? Something better happened to him in the end. So, yeah, in the end, the ending was kind of anticlimactic for me. I didn't really enjoy the ending, but that is the purpose because this book is not supposed to have a happy ending. It also talked about a corrupt government. I mean, it's really right there in the beginning where you get into the plot and everything. So, yeah, I gave it a 4 stars. A 4-star rating. It was not that bad. And yeah. And then, okay, 2 more books, guys. Bear with me. One more book, guys. So the last book that I read in February was The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I don't think I can emphasize how much I love this book because it was so fast paced. It is okay, so it's basically about these people. If y'all don't know what The Naturals is, come on, why are you even watching this video?
What I've heard is that it's like Criminal Minds.
It's basically Criminal Minds but teenagers, and these, I think it was 5 teenagers that are really smart. One of them can read people, the other can read emotions, someone can detect lies, someone has statistics and probabilities type thing. Like she that's her, whatever. They're trying to solve cold cases, look through cold cases, whatever, and they're taken in by the FBI, if I didn't mention that. And then yeah, so that's what this book is about. There's like a small teeny tiny subplot of love, of romance, and I want to read the next books so badly, but I gotta wait. Okay. And yeah, so I gave this a 5-star. If I could, I'd give it a 6, a 7, a 10, 1,000. Yeah, it was just that good. I loved it. Fast paced, definitely just gets right in there. And the humor, I thought it was funny. I mean, it's not that, it's not a funny book, it's not a comedy, but I thought it was funny. Sometimes they were funny. So yeah, those are all the books we read in January and February.
There are books we did not read.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Okay, this is funny because these are my first DNFs ever, okay? Because I was very determined to just get through the book. And that is what I was going to try to do with Don't Hate the Player by Alexis Ned. Okay, this was a book that we had for years that was given to us. But my sister read it. She also DNF'd it.
Yeah.
She didn't finish it. This is definitely YA. And it's cute because the girl, she's Hispanic. She's like Peruvian. I thought it was cute. Okay, it's just I wasn't into it. It's a video game type of book. And it is like romance, but it also talks about the game, and I'm like, So that is why I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it like 90 pages in. I DNF'd it. It just wasn't for me. And yeah. And the next book I DNF'd, it is Courting Darkness by Robin Lefevers. Okay, I'm so sorry. I DNF'd this book about, okay, I was a good chunk into the book. I was like 160 pages into the, I'm almost done, sorry. 160 pages into the book. But there's a trilogy before this that I want to read because it would all make more sense. They said that I don't need to read that trilogy to read this duology because this is the first book in the duology. But I want to understand the characters more and feel more attached to them. So I want to read those books first. I don't think I'm going to get to it anytime soon, but it wasn't bad. It's not because I hated it. It's also very like in France, in history. Like that. I don't know, y'all. It's something in the past, and that's what's going on. That's the setting. But there's a whole bunch of action, and I just want to read the other books first. So it's a soft DNF. That's.
Yeah, I DNF'd Pride and Prejudice. I was gonna like listen to the audio of it, but it was like exactly the same as the movies. Like don't hate me if you think it isn't. But like the beginning, it just sounded exactly the same. Like I could see the movie literally playing play by play. Okay, so like I was just like, and I love the movies. I've watched the movies like 4 times. And so I was just like, I don't feel like listening to this right now.
Is this the one where the girl goes tumbling down the hill?
Can you give me more context?
When the girl goes tumbling down the hill, and then there's like the short guy, and then he ended up poisoning himself. Farmer Boy.
Oh, that's Princess Bride.
Oh.
That's Princess Bride. I saw, doesn't matter. I'll say later. Anyways, the second book I DNF was Fairy Tale by Stephen King. It's more like a soft DNF. I just wasn't in the mood. Like I thought it was really interesting. I think I read like 30 pages, and then I was just not into it. I just couldn't get into it, but it was interesting. So I just wasn't in the mood for it. But I'll get into it later. So that's our January and February TBR of 2024. So
yeah, stay tuned for our March TBR.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please stay for more. Bye! I need to sleep. I'm still like this third. I think it'll be good.
I'm gonna be like this. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. That had a line and it said something about, you know what, never mind.
Okay.
If you, and it's like, yeah. Never mind. I don't know, it's whatever. It's 3 books in one. Cause it's 3 books, but it's in one.
Oh.
They're looking